that I was a hedge fund manager, which was my dream job. And then I shut it down to become a prosperity coach. And you may be asking, Joel, that was your dream job for 20 years. Why'd you shut it down? Well, let me first tell you that story, and then I'll get into some of the other key themes from my book. And this is actually chapters 15 and 16 from Mindful Money Management. So I was working as a hedge fund manager. We had actually had great returns in 2013. We were up 10% in just 6 months. And then in 14, we were up 1%. And in 2015, I realized that in order for my business to really be a long-term, sustainable, viable entity, I needed to do something. So I heard about this conference. And I went to this conference, and 2 things happened at this conference that changed my life. The first thing that happened was we were given a wooden board 2 inches thick, and we were told we were going to break that board with our bare hand. Has anyone ever done this? Raise your hand. Yes, there was a lot of fear in that room. So we were told we were going to break it with our bare hand, and we split up into groups of 10. We had our holders who were wearing protective gloves, and then we had the breakers. Then of course we switched, but the breakers were to set up and shift their weight and use their momentum and visualize themselves ending up beyond the board. Now there was a lot of fear in that room. We had to fill out a permission slip. At the bottom, we had to list our next of kin. Now this exercise was called Obstacles or Illusions. And on one side, we had to write our biggest obstacle. And on the other side, we had to write our ultimate goal. So I wrote in red on one side, my biggest obstacle was raising enough money for Solomon Capital, my hedge fund, for it to be massively profitable. And then I wrote on the other side my ultimate goal, making everybody in this room financially free. And then, like the other 200 people in that room, I broke that board. Now the second thing that happened at the course was we had a guest speaker. And he was speaking about stocks and stock options. He said, when he was talking about stock options in particular, you didn't need much time, you didn't need much money, they're essentially riskless, and this is how the rich people make their money. I was sick to my stomach. Because at the very least, he was being misleading to these people, and at worst, he was lying. I had people tap me on the shoulder, whisper in my ear, Joel, does this make sense? See, they knew I was a hedge fund manager. It was the second day of the conference. So at the end of his presentation, we went out of the auditorium, and I said, please don't do this. Options are risky. You can lose money. And most importantly, you're a completely diverse group of people with different cash flow, earnings, assets, tax status, risk tolerance, and belief systems. Now, I went home that night, and first of all, I realized the wooden board was a non sequitur. How did raising more money for my hedge fund have anything to do with making everybody in that room financially free? But I couldn't sleep that night because that wooden board was staring back at me. Actually, half the wooden board was staring back at me, making everybody in this room financially free. So I went into my office that next morning in Midtown Manhattan. I sent an email to my investors telling them I'm giving them their money back. I'm shutting down my fund. I found my true purpose on earth is to help people become financially free. So yes, I'm now working as a prosperity coach, and I help people become financially free. Well, how do I do that? I have 3 different modules, as I explained in chapter 16. The first module is all about educating people on investments, be it stocks or bonds, real estate. As a chartered financial analyst, I can teach people about currencies or commodities as well. I give them the basics, and if they want to go into really a lot more detail on any of those asset classes, I can teach them the truth. I actually have a white paper on my website that's free about stock options. If you want to download it, it's under the investment section of my website under programs. The second module is all about manifesting, how your thoughts become things, and how you were taught subconsciously between age 0 and 10 about money. And most people have a poverty consciousness. They were taught, money doesn't grow on trees, we can't afford that, that's too expensive. You can't be rich and spiritual. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer. This was what I was taught growing up as well. So I teach people how to overcome these limiting beliefs and shift them into empowering beliefs, because you want your dreams and desires to occur. And so why not think about what you do want rather than what you don't want? I also discuss how to use your intuition to manifest your dreams and desires. And then the third module is all about financial freedom. What's your financial freedom number? So what does financial freedom mean to you? Anybody want to answer? Great. So my clients have said to me, financial freedom means traveling around the world. It means being a philanthropist and giving to their favorite charities. Some have said financial freedom means fully funding their kids' college education. Some have said to me, it's buying a vacation home for their parents or a retirement home for their parents. But I will tell you, for me, financial freedom is spending as much time as I want with the ones I love. Back in 2012, I was laid off from Citigroup. Because I was financially free, I was able to go to my kids' extracurricular activities. I was even able to see Morgan, my youngest daughter at the time, she was 6, present to her first grade class. I saw Lauren and Morgan's plays that I got to go see them go swimming or play tennis, act and sing in their different classes. I wouldn't have been able to do that if I had a job in Manhattan that I was working full time. So what does financial freedom mean to you? Write it down. And what's your financial freedom number? Does anybody know? Does anybody know it? It's different for everybody. I explain in the book what a financial freedom number is. It means that you have enough money in passive income investments that cover your expenses so you don't have to work. So let me give you an example. Suppose your monthly expenses are $5,000. That would mean your annual expenses are $60,000. You would need just $1 million in passive income investments to be financially free, assuming they generate 6% a year, year in and year out, and your expenses don't change. So what are passive income investments? This is a question I get from my clients all the time. Passive income investments can be stocks, they could be bonds, they could be rental real estate income, it could be an Amazon fulfillment company, it could be some online business. Whatever resonates with you that can generate income where you're not working 30, 40, 50 hours a week. So those are passive income investments. But let me talk to you a little bit about my book. And first of all, I wanted to tell you a little bit about a main theme called doubt to doubt. So I was working as an actuary in 1992, and there was a Bloomberg machine in my area where I got to go on for work, but I realized I could analyze stocks on the Bloomberg machine. So I did. In the evenings and weekends, I got to do my own personal work, my hobby. And then I said to myself one day, wouldn't it be great to align my hobby and my career and have achieved my dream of becoming an investor? But I talked to other actuaries, I talked to family and friends, and they were like, Joel, you have the best job in the world. In fact, the actuary was on the cover of Forbes magazine in 1992 as the best job in the world. So I wanted to switch from the best job in the world. And everybody was giving me doubt. Joel, don't do this. It doesn't make any sense. You're already making over $100,000. You're 27 years old. Why would you do this? So I doubted the doubt. Why is the doubt right? And in fact, I had doubt myself. So I tell people, doubt the doubt. Have faith in your dreams and desires. I actually ended up connecting with an actuary who was on Wall Street who said, Joel, if you really want to become an investor, the first step is to go to get credit analysis experience. Because if you know credit, then you're really going to be a great stock investor. And so I did. And that was the first step on my journey to becoming a hedge fund manager. So doubt the doubt. Why is the doubt right? I tell my kids, worry is negative future planning. Worry is negative future planning. So think about what you do want rather than what you don't want. And doubt the doubt. Now, chapter 4 talks about acting as if. Act as if. What does that mean? Well, act as if what you want to happen has already happened. And I give the example in my book of how I did that. It was December 2012. I had moved in to prime real estate space on 54th and Madison. Felt like I arrived. I could look out and see one of the most expensive streets in the world, Madison Avenue. I hired an accountant, an actuary, my prime broker, a fund administrator. I was all set to go. In fact, my analyst was going to start on January 1st. I even started negotiating with a database company that could provide me with all the information I needed to analyze my different stocks for just $2,000 a month. All set to go. I had 2 investors that had given me oral agreements. And I moved into my office space, and within days they both had backed out. And I had no pipeline. I was sure they were investing. So now I could have given up. But what did I do? I acted as if we already had the money. Now, how did I do that? Well, I hired that analyst, and we had morning calls every morning talking about our investments. We even visited with the companies we were invested in. We went to conferences and spoke to senior management. And I set up a spreadsheet where I calculated our daily performance of our portfolio, calculated how much money we made or lost every single day. Now on January 25th, I had a great meeting with a prospective investor, and less than 2 months later, we had a signed written agreement from that investor. And I truly believe that acting as if got me that money. Act as if it's impossible to fail. Let me tell you about gratitude and happiness. This is chapter 8 in my book, another key theme. And I realized that I had conditional happiness. And I wasn't being grateful for the fact that I was doing my dream job in 2014. So what is unconditional happiness and what is conditional happiness? Well, I realized I was conditionally happy. If I made money in my fund, I was happy. And if I lost money, I was sad. Now think about that. The best investors in the world make money 60% of the time. I'm not the best. So say I made money half the time. Half the time I would lose money, and half the time I would be unhappy. What a crazy way to live your life. And so I realized that I could do things to make myself happy unconditionally. What did I do? So these are some of the things I